One, and you're live.
Welcome back, one and all, to more Amateur League of Legends. It is time for the Proving Grounds Circuit number 2 in 2022, brought to you by Unified. My name is DJ, joined, of course, by my one and only true love on this wonderful day of love. It's our MC.
DJ, I don't know if it's a wonderful day of love for me so far. Apparently, I've been slaughtered on the Valentine's cards here. I'm bleeding out everywhere. And didn't you hear the stat Grapes put out? 200,000 plus minions died last time here, DJ, and looks like I'm the lucky survivor.
Yeah, it is brutal, man. We got a lot of efficient farmers out there, of course, in the Proving Ground circuit. There is no caster minion left alive, if possible, RFC. A little unfortunate for you, but of course, that's what makes part of Proving Ground so exciting, is all of the talent that we bring here together. And of course, big reminder that this is the circuit number 2, right? We have already gone through a circuit 1, because after these 2 circuits, 10 of our teams here in the amateur scene will be joining the 10 academy teams who will auto qualify to Proving Grounds. So that would be our very next tournament, which means this is the last chance for those teams to accumulate those critical points that we were talking about, RMC.
Yeah, and because the points are accumulated here, DJ, nobody's guaranteed exactly to move on. I mean, 100 Thieves Snake's probably pretty close to. Things would have to go very wrong for them not to, but it's not guaranteed, and anybody can still make their way up. So we do have some new teams, and those new teams as well, they've got a fair shake.
Format
they've got
video.
A fair shot.
Yep, and to show you how this tournament is going to play out over the next 5 weeks, we've got our friend and colleague Jolly here to break down all the details.
Welcome to the Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier number 2, presented by Unified. 32 teams will face off in a 5-round Swiss Open qualifier to decide who will advance to the 16-team group stage. The Swiss format matches teams with the same record against each other as the rounds progress, meaning in round 2, the 1-0 teams will play each other while the 0-1 teams play each other, and so on. The 16 teams to reach 3 wins by the end of round 5 will move on to compete in groups, where they will be seeded based on their records and play in a best of 3 double elimination bracket to decide who will advance to the playoffs. The playoffs will be single elim best of 3 matches up until the grand final best of 5 series. Teams will earn points based on their overall performance. Here's how the numbers break down. The top 10 amateur teams across the 2 tournaments will qualify for Proving Grounds. Got it? Good. The action starts soon, so make sure you catch all the games at twitch.tv/academy and the Unified Twitch channels.
10 seconds on this.
Which of these aspiring champions will rise to the top in 2022? Come see for yourself.
And point distribution. You're back.
As promised, of course, we talked about that PGC Q1. So if you didn't watch it, you were living under a rock at the beginning of the year, just trying to recover from 2021. Here's what we got going on after PGC Q1. 100 Thieves Next, of course, won that tournament, so they have 125 points to their name. And GGA, who did finish second, of course, as an academy team, they will auto-qualify. That is why they will not be found in this list. So you can read down the rest of the line to see who's currently topping the charts and who still has a very good shot of getting in.
Yeah, and not only is GGA auto-qualified already, and therefore their score is not showing, but they will not be participating here in PGCQ
and
number 2. Instead, we have a graphic here with all 32 teams that have been qualified or accepted into the open qualifiers here. And DJ, there's a lot of names which we know and are familiar, but there's a lot of different ones as well, even among the top half of the OQs.
Yeah, we do have some shuffling players, some shuffling teams. It has been an exciting time. And of course, we all know what the big prize is at the end of the day for these 32 teams. It is getting that top 16 and getting into the group stages. But this time around, there's an extra little bonus, of course, that adds to the competitive part of the ecosystem. The fact that everyone wants to be at the top of the ladder. Well, guess what? You make that top 16, you get to compete as well in Champions Queue. So a lot on the line, even more on the line this time around for all these 32 teams, which is probably part of why we had some of these shuffles, RMC.
Yeah, DJ, when we said that PGCQ Proving Grounds was going to be the amateur pipeline, we weren't kidding here. Whether it be competitive play or high-level individual solo queue here, PGCQ's gonna have it all. And DJ, we've seen the teams, we've seen the points. It's about time we get to see the matchups here. between all of the teams. Now, specifically here on Unified 2, we will be covering Radiance versus Grandview University on Unified live stream. They'll be covering No Team versus Winston King of Amateur. But DJ, there's so many other matches. Are there any that you're particularly excited for here in round one?
Personally, RMC, I'm pretty excited for our matchup. I'll be honest, but if I'm looking around, I am pretty excited to see how Maryville Secret Weapons Squad goes up against Redbird Esports. Redbird has been kind of a big part of the CLOL scene, and Maryville Secret kind of splitting up the whole Maryville squad, bringing back a couple of very familiar names that I think everyone will know and love to see back into the amateur circuit. So I think that should be a pretty exciting matchup as well for round one.
Mm-hmm. It still blows my mind that we're seeing Maryville here with two separate teams and both of them looking like such strong contenders here. So definitely one to keep your eyes on. Personally, I'm also watching out a little bit for Team Ambition versus Nameless Randoms here. They faced last OQs as well, and 16-17 seed, that always gets really, really spicy. DJ, though, our matchup tonight isn't exactly that close seeding-wise, but I think both of us are really excited because we are expecting this one to be a little bit close.
Yes, we are. Before we do move on to our matchup, do want a reminder on the schedule. One thing not listed on that video, of course, all of our games this time around for the next 5 weeks will be those Mondays, Tuesdays. It'll be at 3 p.m. PST, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. EST. So set those clocks to the right time so you don't miss any of the action. But with that, we will turn it towards our matchup of the day here to start off this circuit number 2 RMC. And that is, of course, between these two teams that I am so excited about, Radiance and GVU, because like you said, the seeding is not that close. But I think this is one of those cases in which, seeding has to happen. It is what it is. There are criteria for seeding. But I think this is one of those cases where, just based on the way that PGC Q1 went, GVU, I think, is an underseeded team. And I think this matchup is going to be extremely close.
For sure. And so let's start with Grandview University, because if you followed PGC Q1, you know that Grandview University did not make it out of OQs. In the open qualifiers, they were very, very close, 2-3. And in their last game, the one that would have qualified them, they were up 7,000 gold at one point and just fell short at the very end to Supernova.
Yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking, right? You go back, you look at that game as we did it, and you make a mistake against Jinx Corky. It gets a little bit hard in the later stages of a game, that amount of range, but that is just what happened. And we've talked to some of the Grandview players, and they mentioned that it is something they still think about. Of course, it will be on the back of my mind, but they have assured us that it's something they have moved past, they have improved upon, and this time around, they believe there are not going to be any such mistakes, and they will be qualifying to that 16.
For sure. And when we look across the Grandview roster as well, of course, Prankuru in the top lane, Call Through in the jungle, Meslo mid, Aaron and Pluto in the bot side here. The player who kind of catches my eye a little bit out of this roster is Aaron, their AD carry. And when we see the way Grandview University tends to play, they certainly spend a lot of resources there. And Aaron has often lived up to that expectation, being the big damage source in a lot of their team fights.
Yeah, Aaron has been absolutely explosive in their game so far this year, both at PGCQ and in the MEC, and has been called, we got the Louisiana Purchase memes that have come across, always good for America versus Ottawa, right? He's the golden egg, so to speak. He has really been showing out in the early stages of the season, but I think a lot of the roster definitely has. I think he just really brings things together in those team fight stages for them, RMC. And of course, one person that can't be looked past as well, I think, is Prankuru in that top lane, who showed so much flexibility, right? Can play weak side to enable Aaron in draft, but also has a couple of these picks where he can really just take over a side lane. And I'm fascinated to see what Radiance is going to do about him in draft, because I think he just offers that kind of second win angle, that win condition to this GVU side.
For sure. And since you mentioned Radiance, let's touch on them a little bit as well here, DJ, because Radiance now, that is a team we do know, we have seen, and congrats to them. They are confirmed affiliated with Dignitas as well here. They had a 9th, 12th finish in the PGCQ number 1. And a lot of it was also coming off their bot lane here. I mean, people jokingly call them Zoomers and Old Man Raheen. That's really unfair. They are an incredibly young roster. Cubby said it on the Draw Show. Average age, 17.2 years old here. Raheen drags that average up, and Raheen's only 20. So
I know, 20 years old, 20 years young, right? But he is the grandpa of the squad somehow. We'll stick with Big Brother, I think, is the appropriate term here, RMC, for this team. But it just goes to show, yeah, these guys are just fresh out, right? They are still, this is their first run in the circuit, and they are so incredibly young and talented. So you would assume that the longer things go on, and this is, I think, what we're looking for, right, in this tournament, right? The longer they play together, the longer things, the better they should get.
For sure. And because also there's such a young roster, I do like to look at some of the names which aren't as familiar to the amateur scene. I mean, Bluster played on EGP last split. TC Porsche and Crimson, though. TC Porsche has been in the scene for a while, but hasn't had his breakthrough moment yet. And Crimson, of course, this year, Proving Grounds is probably the youngest players we've seen yet. 3 15-year-old prodigies coming in, of course. There's one in the top lane, that's General Sniper, everybody knows. Griffin in the jungle as well. And Crimson in the mid lane. 3 different lane, 3 15-year-old players. Crimson and Sniper, of course, being twins. But Crimson hasn't had his breakthrough moment either yet. He's had good performances, don't get me wrong. In fact, actually does the most damage on the Radiance team. But so far, I'm still waiting for that big highlight moment, and that's what I really, really want to see come through.
Yeah, and I think we are all looking for that big explosion from this roster, right? It was a very good PGC Q1, but I think even by some of the admission of the players that we both talked to in the lead up to this match, they think the ceiling is so much higher, RMC, particularly one or two of them thinking there's just so much more they can do. And of course, when maybe the kind of stick out thought about Radiance from the PGC Q1 is that infamous now level 1 against no team, right? Like that is something you don't like. It's a funny thought, and of course Radiance bounced back. They moved on from that. It wasn't a huge deal at the end of the day, but it's not maybe the thing you want to be remembered for after that PGC Q1. And this is the chance. It's the big second chance to be remembered for qualifying to Proving Grounds and really getting that shot to say we are one of these best 16 teams, and we are going to go fight these academy teams head to head. Yeah,
and you know what, DJ? We don't have to remember that because we moved past. Light Pulse in an interview last PGCQ as well mentioned that they're a very momentum-based team as well. So I think for Radiance coming into OQs, remember, every team has to play in OQs. Nobody's guaranteed a free buy here, so you've still got to play your 5 games and win it. And for a momentum-based team, starting it right is going to be absolutely massive. If they have a win here against Grandview, they can ride that high, ride that momentum in, secure maybe a quick 3 wins here because their seating is pretty decent, and qualify right away in. After that, the last 2 games, hey, you can use it for practice as you want, or hey, if you want to keep driving that momentum, look for wins. That's a great way to end it too.
Yeah, certainly is. You definitely want to get off to a good start if you are on that kind of momentum-based side. But speaking of momentum, right, I think that is something that GVU definitely have coming in. I don't know how many people out there have been paying attention to their socials, but if you are not following some of these GVU players, you really need to. They have been absolutely popping off in interviews on the Rift. These guys have an absolutely great team environment and are so complimentary of each other. So we want to talk about momentum, right? I think this is a team carrying momentum, and Radiant's going to need to find a way, I think, to break it going into game number 1, show that they can come out hot as well. And of course, you don't get as many matches up front because you're not in Sealol at the moment, right? So maybe a little unfair to Radiance in that sense, but it is just something that is out there in the public view to see that this GVU roster, they are clicking.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the energy they seem to radiate whenever we do get to see them on. I've seen a couple of their interviews. Super fun group as a whole here. And concerning to me as well a little bit when I'm looking at this Grandview University is that I'm not sure what they're going to pick. They've shown different styles in terms of how they want to play. And I know we highlighted Aaron earlier as, you know, the big carry for the team. I feel like that's the one staple. But beyond that, who's carrying can also differ. We've got Meslo, very high mechanical skilled player in the mid lane. If he pops off, can definitely look to carry the burden of carrying. And Colthrough and Prankuru as well. Prankuru, some games on Ornn, but on others, carries like Camille and Gwen as well here. So, you know, a lot of potential for this team. And I don't know if Radiance managed to scout them out well and have a plan going into this, or whether they're just going to say, you know what, we're just going to play our game and trust that we're better and can just smash our way through.
Yeah, certainly could be the case. Now, I regret to inform you, of course, with the new tournament comes new tech. And with new tech sometimes comes some new issues. So we are having a bit of delay running into draft at the moment. So we're going to throw it to a short break. Let's rewatch some Fruit for Thought, and we will be back with that enlightened knowledge to prepare you for this first matchup between GVU and Radiance.
Dived into developmental, a premier org in North American developmental, and at the top of 2022, they present one of the most terrifying rosters North American amateur has ever seen.
You could say that again. What a wild ride. It seems like just yesterday that we kicked off the 2022 season with the PGCQ Open Qualifiers. Yet, here we are, already at the end, with 100 Thieves next cementing themselves at the top of the amateur circuit with a 3-0 sweep over Golden Guardians Academy. It was a fun time. Lots of games, tons of storylines, a bunch of crazy plays. But as we close this first chapter of the year, let's take a look at some of the numbers, some of the stats that define this tournament, and set the stage for the rest of the Proving Ground circuit. Yeah, it's rewind time. I'm allowed to do that, right? Whatever. Welcome back to Food for Thought.
Check 1, 2.
32 teams took to the Rift to start this season of Amateur. As we mentioned before, these teams come from all different levels of structural organizations, and in total, played 147 games throughout the Open Qualifiers and the main event. Throughout the tournament, we saw almost 5,000 kills, 598 dragons, 174 Baron buffs, and over 200,000 killed minions. Those poor little guys. Never stood a chance. With the onset of a new season and tons of players coming straight out of solo queue, we saw a whole lot of champion diversity in the tournament meta. 112 unique picks saw action on the Rift, which is over 70% of all champions in the game. In order to find the most popular champions throughout the PGCQ, we have to head down to the bottom lane. In terms of total pick and ban rate, Caitlyn showed her face the most throughout the tournament. Her oppressiveness in lane and combinations with enchanter supports like Lux and Karma proved too much for her opponents to handle. Caitlyn was actually perceived to be so strong that her ban rate was substantially higher than her pick rate, meaning we actually didn't get to see her be played very often. Who was picked the most? Well, look no further than Decate's thematic counterpart and canonical arch-rival, Jinx. The hypercarry marksman saw action in 80 total games for a 54% pick rate. While Caitlyn and Jinx were certainly the most popular champs in the game, they were not necessarily the most successful. For that honor, we head over to the mid lane, where Zoe put up a 6-1 record in 7 games of action. Does this mean that we should be seeing more Zoe in the meta? I don't know. The number looks cool though. Let's take a look at some player stats. Through both the Open Qualifiers and the main event, 167 players took to the Rift throughout the first PGCQ. Out of all these players, the one that looked most impressive to me was Insanity, the mid laner of the tournament-winning 100 Thieves Next. Throughout his tournament run, Insanity put up, well, insane stats, with 783 GXD at 10, 767 damage per minute, and a 1.357 carried value. What's interesting here is, despite Insanity's success, he actually doesn't rank first in any of these categories among eligible players. Let's take a look at some of them who did. As for GXD at 10, nobody got as far ahead in the early game as Anti, the jungler for Team Ambition. Instead of those early game ganking focused junglers like Jarvan and Jin Zhao that dominated the meta for much of the tournament, Anti opted for farming scaling picks like Diana and Zed, and often prioritized his clear over ganking to get himself ahead of some of the top junglers in the tournament like Bluster and Fnatic. And if we're talking about late game damage, we have to focus on Arguments, the mid laner for No Ace. While he didn't qualify for the main event, Arguments had one of the craziest games of the tournament in his round 3 OQ matchup against Verity. In a 32-minute victory, the rookie mid laner put up an insane 1400 damage per minute, and was responsible for over half of his team's damage. While there's no available recording of this game, a quick look at the scoreline is enough to make any mid laner shudder in awe. Before we go, quick shout out to Porsche, the top laner for Radiance, who played a tournament high 11 unique champions in 14 games. Really impressive stuff out of a young player on an even younger roster. Make sure to keep an eye out for them. I'll be the first to admit that we went a little bit all over the place today. But that's just because there are so many different players that made their mark here in this first tournament of 2022. If I talked about all of them, we'd be here for hours. But the best part about all this is that the action doesn't stop. We'll be back here next week with even more players to show up on the Rift, more things to talk about, and of course, more teams to curse here on Food for Thought. Stay hungry out there, my friends. I'll see you soon.
I just love that funky jazz there at the end of that RMC. You know, I feel so refreshed, right? I have so much more knowledge now. I feel so enlightened. There's like fruit and vitamin C in my system. Just all around good feels here. But as we come on back, just a couple minutes now away from draft. So before we hop into it, RMC, let's touch a little bit on kind of where we are in the meta, right? We've seen it developing a little bit. We've seen some, of course, knockdowns to things that need to get knocked down in the Janna Smite top, but kind of where are we looking at, and are there any new picks or new things that you expect to see going into this tournament?
Yeah, so DJ, we are on live patch 12.3 here. There have been some changes since the last time we were here in the Proving Ground Circuit qualifiers, and 12.3 mostly saw nerfs coming through, little bits of adjustments for multiple champions. And let's start with Caitlyn, since Grapes was talking a little bit about Caitlyn and Jinx. We'll start with AD carries. Caitlyn got a little bit nerfed towards the late game, and I do not think that nerf matters. I think she's still going to be the queen of the bot lane in the early game here, but though her canonical rival might be Jinx, there's another challenger here in the PGCQ for AD carries, and that's Zeri. She was busted on 12.2. 12.3 has seen her, I don't even want to call it a nerf. I'll call it a balance there, because she was a little bit overtuned, and unintended interactions and all that. But I still think Zeri is really, really strong. Strong enough to face Jinx, maybe even if the team fight runs long enough here.
Yeah, certainly a very, very powerful champion. Not one that I can play, of course, RMC, but we've got a lot of good pros, and we've seen it popping up right in pro drafts. It is definitely something that is going to be present in this tournament. For me, RMC, what I really want to see is more of Ahri, and actually we are getting into draft, I believe, fairly soon. I think it's just a couple of seconds now, as I can see a couple picks or bans going down. So in terms of that, I'm hoping to see more of it, because I'm just so happy that a champion that has been so out of the meta and seemingly so kind of weak at pretty much every phase of the game for mid laners is now a very stable part of the meta, right? Is a very viable play style in laning phase, providing pressure. And I'm excited to see who's picking it up here in the early stage of the tournament.
For sure. And part of the big problem with Ahri before this rework or adjustments to her kit was that she was very binary. If she lands the charm, she wins the trade. If she misses the charm, she's probably going to lose the trade. And even if she lands a charm, sometimes she still doesn't win the trade. So more losing proposition than not. And now they've taken away the damage amplification. They've given back the damage to her other abilities, so she's more consistent here. I do think she's a very good pickup. We've seen a lot of Ahri in a lot of different regions globally here, and I don't think she's busted. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it. We mentioned that Meslo, is a strong lane player. Well, Ahri fits that. It's a mechanical champion. Crimson as well, known for playing, Yasuo, Yone, sort of the Wind Brothers. I know that Rafa was talking about, big swords, sword style champions. Ahri isn't that, but Ahri is meta. And if there's one thing Crimson showed us in PGCQ1, it's that he's willing to play meta and whatever is strong. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get to see an Ahri this game, or at least sometime tonight or during the OQs.
So you kind of gave away what I was going to ask you. But which of these mid laners do you think maybe in these first 3-5 games is more likely to pull it out? And if you were going to pick one, who would pull it out in this game?
Oh, I feel like it's more of a Meslo style champion a little bit here. Very high mechanical skill cap, like we said. So I almost feel like Meslo would be the one to maybe strut his stuff here with that Ahri.
All right, can't wait to see it, because as we know, all players love to show casters up, and all casters love to be to provide caster curse. So I'm almost positive that Crimson will be the one to pull it out this time around, RMC, and then we can get on Twitter and we can have the whole shebang. Day number 1, attack RMC. I mean, he gets attacked enough in lanes as it is, but that would be a little unfortunate. But I am excited to see if we do get that, of course. And do apologize. I did bait us a little bit, still working on that draft lobby. So apologies once again, as it just still shouldn't be too much longer. Production is informing me just a couple of things left to tidy up for tournament rules here before we do get into that draft. So one thing I did want to mention, right? We talked about Raheen being a big brother RMC earlier on. Well, we never mentioned that he kind of has a kindred spirit on the other team, in that GVU last year actually had 4 different players and Colthrow. So it's 4 brand new players and Colthrow. And actually, in an interview we did with him yesterday, he was mentioning that he felt like a big brother, that he felt like there was so much new energy on this team that he was kind of like the old man of the team. So like, I'm wondering if he and Raheen chatted about this or something, like kindred spirits in that sense.
Oh my, you know what? Maybe they have. Coulter was like, what, 22, 23? He's still real young.
I know, right?
As well right now. Like it, and hey, maybe he can out boomer Raheen here. that could be a thing. We'll see how it goes. You know what? Coulter caught my eye too, because not only, he's saying he's feeling kind of old, but he also pulled out like some really old champions. The Udyr came out. That's something, we don't see too much of. Was popular for a while because of Chemtank, and that got nerfed, so we didn't see Udyr again. I wonder if we do see the Udyr come out once again. It's a nice, pocket pick that might be able to catch Radiance off guard a little bit here.
Yeah, he did used to be an Udyr one trick, but of course, that was a long time ago, RMC. He has got pretty much everything in his pool these days, and is kind of, as was mentioned by his coach, right, one of those big kind of go buttons for this GVU side. So despite the fact that he's got a bunch of younger teammates, he can still provide the energy and comms, apparently, no matter how things go. So we can't expect that from Coulter. Again, just getting it forward, we are just a tiny bit away from draft. I'm looking at it here. RMC, we got one side ready, so shouldn't be too much longer. I know everyone is waiting on the edge of their seats to get started with this season, with PGCQ number 2. We feel the same because we've been waiting for this matchup for like 3 whole days now, RMC, and I'm just fascinated to see where these two teams stack up after so much prep, so much talking, and so much time now to improve from the first tournament to the second one.
I mean, DJ, you say you've been waiting 3 whole days. I've been waiting a month for Grandview to show back up again and, make it out of OQs here, because, like you said, we are expecting Grandview to make it out the first time here, and they are definitely hungry to make it out this second time. There is a third one, but it won't be for this upcoming Proving Grounds. We mentioned it earlier. It's 2 Proving Ground qualifiers followed by an actual Proving Ground, and then there'll be 3, 4, and another here. So this is sort of last chance, last call for the Spring Proving Grounds.
Certainly is, RMC. Certainly is. Now, I am still waiting to see the switch here. I'm taking a look at our draft screen. I am seeing some bans come through, so not sure if we are fully ready or if it is just another technical issue. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's true. It's true. This time I'm not baiting everyone. I'm not even baiting myself, RMC. We are in 2 pick and bans. We are ready for GVU and Radiance, and GVU here lining up on the blue side, Radiance on that red side for the counter picks. So we see here Diana, TF, and the Jarvan are the takeaways from Radiance, while Caitlyn, as you mentioned, the takeaway from Aaron. And there is Prankuru's Gwen. He is exceptional on that champion. Also banned away was Zeri.
Oh, wow, and the insta pickup for the Karma here. I actually kind of like that, because we were just chatting a little bit, DJ. Yes, Janna did get nerfed on patch 12.3, hotfixed really, so that we don't see Smite Janna top, but there are other viable supports who can still pull the same thing, and Karma is one of them. So even though Karma's support, it might not be for the bot lane. It's a flex pick right now. Yeah,
can be a flex pick, although this is a very Pluto champion. He is super proficient on this. He played it twice, actually, yesterday in their MEC games as well, and he is exceptional understanding how to control the lane with this pick. And we see a quick answer, right? The hover was on the Aphelios to lock it in. Very comfortable champion for Raheen. They get my favorite and all reliable Xin Zhao, right? Every jungler knows they can pick this one blind, no problemo, but I would not be surprised. I think this will be a jinx here from Aaron. This is the lane they were playing yesterday. They've been playing it a ton in this early season, and they look great on it. So much pushing power in the early stage of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And with the Zeri and Caitlyn ban, I was actually more surprised we didn't see a higher prio on that jinx. Radiance actually opting to just pick up the Aphelios, completely giving up that jinx here. And that tells me that you've got to have some sort of plan, some sort of answer into this Karma here. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more engaged style champions try and punish the immobile jinx a little bit more. And for Grandview, they are looking for a pickup, most likely going to be their jungler here, and it's not the Udyr. Instead, they've gone with something more typical of the current meta, the Lee Sin, which is Coulter's most played jungler, at least here in PGCQ.
Yeah, and I love to see it, right? Let's get some early comfort away. We just talked about Coulter being kind of the go button for team plays, decisions in this game, and Lee Sin is a champion with a ton of agency to make those calls and to follow up on them. Love the first 3 picks from GVU, and it looking like they are sticking to that comfort that they have been playing through. But of course, as we know, when it comes to Aphelios, Thresh has been a partner for him, holding his hand for the last year and a half. And we do, of course, know that Light Pulse is very proficient on this champion as well. So pretty as standard as the first 3 picks as I think we could get here, RMC, but only one of these teams will enjoy it at the end. Is there any kind of side of these kind of 3 standard picks that you prefer?
I mean, it really depends on what's rounding out, right? Because we're waiting for the solo lanes from both of these teams here. And depending on how the solo lanes go, it can change a lot in terms of what the teams are looking to go for. GVU's draft right now can really flex any which way. Karma and Lee Sin are super flexible. And while Jinx is a team fight monster, she doesn't need a particular setup for her here. Whereas for Radiance, they're a little lacking in damage so far, right? You've got the Aphelios, that's good. You still need damage, from the mid lane a little bit. So we'll have to see what comes out here. It'll be a mage, so we probably won't see Yasuo Yone for Crimson, unfortunately.
And we do see the Tryndamere banned away by Radiance. We've seen that one kind of terrorizing the LCS in the last couple of days with some pretty exceptional games from Someday. And then I believe it was Fake God as well piloting that one. And of course, TC Porsche, when that name comes up, Gangplank comes up and Gangplank goes by. A little bit of misfortune, double barrels there with the ban. And they took it. Come on, dude. It would be on theme. It's Valentine's Day. She shoots a literal heart, RMC. Come on. I'll never forgive you, Nova. I'll never forgive you.
Little disappointed, DJ. It's Valentine's. your usual combo, Zyra Khan. We didn't get to see that. Ari, Charm, didn't get to see that. I guess we get, sort of the other big couple you're talking about, the Aphelios Thresh. That at least came through. They're effectively a couple at this point. They're always together.
I love how we've sunk to Thresh being a theme for Valentine's Day. I mean, I guess he does have that new, hunky skin, right? The, human-looking skin. But
oh, yeah.
I mean, look at that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that chain ward. That's... New face of Valentine's Day, everybody, right here, stamped by RMC. Here is the critical R4 pick, though, RC. 6 seconds remaining. Radiance taking their time to figure out what they want to go with. They're going to hover and lock in Rise for Crimson.
Yep, Crimson has played 2 games of Rise already and has been pretty good on the champion here. It's really good wave clear, and more importantly, I like the mobility it gives you, especially when Twisted Fate is off the table. We've said before, Meslo's mechanical players, so I'd be a little bit surprised if we see Galio come out to try and match, and if you don't pick the Galio here, then that's an opportunity Radiance can try and use to exploit in terms of just macro movements being able to outpace you in the early game.
I was gonna say I wasn't surprised, right? But you pick that Rise. Number one, you can do the whole crazy flippy thing across the map if you want to follow what the second half you read. But you were just talking about Meslo being that proficient champion. Saw him play Akali twice into bad matchups yesterday. He literally counterpicked himself, maybe to work on the Akali. This is one where you can absolutely execute the Rise at level 6.
Yeah, and Rise will get very tanky. The matchup's not favorable for Akali later in the game, but in the laning phase, it's certainly something that can try and punish the Rise a bit more. The Gragas that we saw hovered earlier for Grandview being picked up, I liked it. They do need a tank with this composition right now. We're saying, kind of squishy for the most part here, and Gragas is a tank to me. Great engage, great disengage, and great laning, but the laning is not so good into the Aatrox. Aatrox picked as a hard counter to the Gragas here.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of Summit pulled it out, and we know how good Porsche can be on this champion. So I do like this R5 counter. That's why you stick to the red side to try to get yourself those advantages in the laning phase. And speaking of advantages in the lanes, right, RMC, that is always so important in the early stages because it flows into your jungle decision-making, into your pathing. So what are you looking at for these lanes, and where can these junglers look to play around as we get into this first game?
Okay, let's start on the blue side here for Grandview University. We touched a little bit on how their comp wants to operate. They are going to skill up with the Jinx here. Jinx is going to be the big hyper carry, and Meslo gets to just do whatever Meslo wants on the assassin here. So because of that, you can leave the top lane alone. You're not trying to get your top lane ahead, I should say. As long as Prankuru's not dying, Prankuru's doing fine. So I want to see Call Through, look towards that mid and bot side of the map to really get some pressure down early. Bot side, especially with the Jinx Karma, you can use it to get a shove lane, and it can do a surprising amount of poke. So especially if Pluto's on point, and like we said, Pluto's a really good Karma player. If you get the poke down, I'd like to see Call Through look for that bot side. On the red side here, Radiance with their composition. This is a scaling composition. You've got Rise, you've got Aphelios, Aatrox skills pretty nicely as well, and you can look for any of the lanes. For Bluster, if you want to get some early leads, look to the top, because you can really do damage to this Gragas here with that Aatrox early. Or alternatively, look bot side. If you think the Karma is going to overextend a little bit, then you can look for that early gank. But Bluster can really go either way. He's got choices, and Radiance, they don't even have to really force any early action because they're the scaling team. They just need to make sure that they're safe more than anything else.
So scaling maybe slightly on the side of Radiance. I think particularly in that side lane, of course, RMC, when you see a Rise, right, Aatrox can do it as well. Always going to be there for them. And maybe even a little bit more early decision-making. We'll have to see if GVU can take advantage of that pushing lane of Colthrow's agency on this champion. Well, one thing I do want to kind of wonder here is what the runes will be for Crimson on this Rise, because we've seen kind of some rumblings or some hints in Champions Queue even of this like very tanky Rise build, like 1 damage item into like multiple healing tank items. So Fimbulwinter as well, and that might be a very good option against this Akali to try and reduce the damage. Is that something you expect him to pull out, or is standard Rise good enough for Crimson here?
Yeah, I actually do expect the tanky build to come out here, because you're also playing into the Akali, right? So you want to make sure that she can't kill you. And that was why I said that initially the laning is going to be quite nice here for the side of Meslo. But as the game goes on, who's really going to be able to handle Crimson's Rise? And the other thing that I want to highlight with this composition we're seeing from Radiance here, DJ, is that the Rise is also going to be a delivery system for Porsche here with the Aatrox. A lot of times Aatrox struggles to get into fights, especially head on, and then you see the Karma to disengage, Lee Sin to disengage, Krags to disengage. Well, Realm Warp and just set in Porsche. That's one way to force a lot of these fights as well. So Grandview University, not only do you have to be careful about the split push and try and find an answer to Aatrox and Rise, but even the team fights later as well, you need to have such good vision control so that you can spot when Radiance is looking for those flanks, looking for the Realm Warp forced fights.
And I love to see that, right? We talked about it coming into the matchup, right? How much we wanted to see from Crimson, how much we wanted to see the growth of these two players, him with Bluster. And if he has that agency to make those kind of big plays, big calls, that's the kind of agency we want to see on this player. Want to see him step up to take so that Radiance can move forward and prove that they are one of the best teams in Amateur, worthy of going up against those amateur teams. And even more fun is if he's doing that delivery system, right? Yeah. You gotta expect that they're going for Aaron. And we talked about Aaron. Aaron is that sort of golden egg over on the side of GVU. He's set up on another very favorable lane and should have all the tools he needs to be that monster late game carry if he doesn't get beset on by something like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and so to me, DJ, when I'm looking at these teams right now, sort of the test I've got for both these players, Crimson, can you get good Realm Warps off with this Rise? Not good enough just winning lane. You know, playing well in lane, we expect that much of Crimson and Meslo here, but it's what you can do with that Realm Warp. And for GVU, expectations for Aaron, yes, you've got a lot of safety around you, right? You've got the peel from the Gragas, Lee Sin, and Karma, but considering the options Radiance has as well, it's going to be about Aaron's positioning. And for me, success for Aaron looks like Aaron surviving team fights.
Surviving team fights, the name of the game. Of course, usually the big thing for the AD carry, everyone's always out to get you, of course, so we'll have to keep our eyes on the positioning of Aaron as this game progresses. But with just a minute or so now away from the game starting, RMC, it's time to put you finally on the spot. You said we've been waiting for this matchup for a month. We've been waiting for GVU. I've been waiting for this for days. You've seen the compositions. We know the players. Who is taking this first game of PGC Q2?
Oh, you hurting me, DJ. You hurting me here. I've been waiting a month for Grandview to show up, and like I said, I absolutely love and adore the team. The energy they give off is great. But honestly, I can say the same of Radiance, and I think I got to give it to Radiance because we've seen Radiance do this before, and they looked really good doing it. Grandview haven't quite had the same measure of success yet, so I'll give it to Radiance. I also like the composition a little bit better. We talked about the options that the team has to come through, and I just think that their scaling, their side laning is going to be rough for Grandview to deal with.
All right, the side laning advantage and the personalities, the players. It's going to be Radiance according to RMC. We'll see if we don't have our official predictions yet, RMC, but we'll see if you can get out to a nice fast start.
Hey, I made second last time.
I was gonna say you tied second. I'm just gonna say, right. Part of that was because I made a certain prediction on the last day, maybe for a very certain reason that I maybe didn't think was actually going to come true. But you know, that's just a technicality. So second place it is.
Yeah, you know what, DJ, we'll find out how it goes here and right away. And you know what, you made me predict, DJ. To be fair, do you agree or are you going Grandview? Are we on opposite sides here?
Okay. This is really hard for me because I've been casting the MEC for the last couple of weeks, and I've been really excited to see what Grandview can do. But these like you said, the draft is so strong from both sides, so it's really hard to find an advantage for me in draft. I think both these teams have gotten what they wanted, and because of that, I'm gonna stick to my MEC colors here. The fact that I
Okay.
live in Chicago, and I'm gonna go with Grandview. I think Grandview will take this first game. I think it's gonna be so close though, because again, as I mentioned, I think both teams are so happy with this draft, are so comfortable playing these kinds of compositions, and really this one's gonna come down to the game plan and the execution of that game plan.
I respect that, DJ. You know, you're a man who sticks with his heart, and I respect that. You might be wrong, but I respect that. Now, what I do want to see, DJ, though, is, you know, some early action to come through as well. I know I said Radiance is a scaling team, but they could look for some cheesy level ones here. I feel like when you've got a Thresh on your side, you know, Aatrox as well in choke points, could be something. And yeah, I just like seeing level 1 early action. It's our first game of the entire PGCQ number 2 here, DJ. What could be better? What could be more fun than... Oh, I just realized. I was going to say, what could be more fun than teams level 1ing it? But there was that no team game with Radiance.
Yeah, there is that level 1. We don't. I think when we're dealing with Radiance games, we'll
Redeem
hold
yourself.
off.
Just do it
on
again.
exciting
Redeem yourself.
level 1. No. See, I think no. I can't. We can't have it happen again, RMC. Right? Like, it's just it would be too much.
It wouldn't happen again. It wouldn't happen again. You know, Radiance would get it right this time. They can do it.
Okay. I mean,
I have faith in
I don't
them.
know, man. If that happened, like what? Like it's the whole fool me once, shame on me, right? Fool me twice, it just like no, I can't. Or what is it? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah, see, that would be a shame on me. That would crush my soul for both me and for Radiance. I'd be so sad. Those memes would live forever.
But they would be there, and memes are free publicity. Unfortunately, they're not no team, so but we'll kind of see how that one goes here, DJ.
All right, so RMC is hoping for redemption on level 1. I'm hoping we see a peaceful level 1. I want to see these comps play out. We are just 30 seconds away from the spectator delay. We've been so excited about this one that we're just running right through it. You guys don't get any breaks, right? We're gonna keep our faces on here the entire time for this one because we have been holding on to this excitement to all of these points for so very long. We've been so bored in between PGCQ1 and PGCQ2. I mean, yes, we have all of our pro leagues, but there's just something special about amateur as all these players come together to compete, right? To compete and get better for those academy spots, for Champions Q, for all the things that make this competitive environment in the amateur scene so very special.
And DJ, it is a level 1, and it's not.
I don't want to look. I don't even want to look.
With this.
Nope. I don't even. I'm looking away for now. I even know what GVU are doing. Every time they pick this lane, they're putting a ward in that middle brush RMC to guarantee that they have control of the lane at level 1 so that Pluto can just harass people with his karma. But I'm not looking until this is over. You're going to have to tell me if there's some sort of scrap. Okay, I can see in the court, peripheral vision telling me we're not getting a level 1 and Radiance is fine. So I'm going to look back at the screen now.
Okay, and as you predicted rightfully there, DJ, Grandview does put that safety ward into that bush here. Radiance is answering back with jungle ward. So what we're effectively seeing is that Grandview want to make sure that Aaron is protected. Like we said, he is their golden egg here, and you got to make sure the egg doesn't crack too early, doesn't get smashed in the bot lane. And Karma Jinx, you know, they do have that poke pressure. What they want is safety and consistency in the lane. They want to reduce volatility, and Vision helps to do that. Whereas Radiance, they want to know exactly where Cold Throw is going here, because for the side of Radiance, Bluster is more than happy to duel out Cold Throw and might be looking to try and match wherever Cold Throw is ganking.
Yeah, they will spot him out, of course, on that level 1 ward, so they'll see him walk over to that Gromp. Of course, now one of the most important spawning camps you can get. If you've been following that academy scene, you probably heard of the on Gromp no crab memes running around, so keep your eyes on that Gromp throughout the game, and they will know what his pathing is, so Bluster will have the freedom to try to go full clear or just match the pathing, and we'll see where that does go. But this is the results of the level 1 ward and the double ranged matchup. Pluto doing what he does best. He's walking forward, and he is being absolutely annoying as heck to those non-range champions.
And like Paulson and Rahid have done a good job so far, not taking too much poke. We're barely seeing the damage come down here. And Grandview put an early ward into the river as well to make sure they didn't get cheese ganked, because they didn't actually know where Bluster was starting. Now the ward will still be there, but we've seen some creative pathing before, and right now Aaron and Pluto are very extended.
are quite extended. That ward is fairly shallow, right? You talk about this even in solo queue, right? When you're playing against, particularly if you're playing against something like Rammus, right? Or that something or Hecarim that can get in your lane really quickly, you gotta put that ward really deep. It might be okay for a Xin Zhao that has to run at you when you have a Karma with slows with the tether, but still the option really is there with how shallow that ward is. Meanwhile, top lane, we just see the normal trading as we mentioned. Keep an eye on CS there because Porsche should have the advantage in the matchup, but well, we know top lane RMCS is likely not going to be the center of attention as both Colthrow and Bluster are down here. Nice hook going to land, but with the wave kind of clearing out, there isn't really enough follow-up to threaten Pluto, and they'll get the initial push as Colthrow walks on in.
Yeah, I was going to point out as well, the ward had expired in the river, so Radiance knew it was open. Unfortunately, Bluster had already started moving away at that point. So Aaron, Pluto, alive, doesn't die to that death sentence for now, and instead, with that pathing for Bluster towards this top side here, Prankuru has to be careful. He doesn't get to push out for now, and Radiance get themselves,
Oh, the flash predict!
Wait.
That's absolutely sick from Light Pulse. Can Raheen get the damage down?
tagged
Turret shot gonna be taken. Aaron, he's going solo. Pluto,
One
one more
more.
would do it, and Raheen's gonna flash for first blood. But now Aaron, very
they
low
do
with the enemy AD carry. He's gonna get the
Colthrow?
reset, and I don't know if there's enough damage here. Colthrow's also here, and what was a great, and I have to say, a brilliant play initially from Light Pulse is punished brutally. That is 2 kills for the Golden Egg. Aaron is off and running.
The fractions of distance, DJ, where Light Pulse ended up taking that extra turret shot really hurt them because Light Pulse couldn't go in, allowing Raheen to get the extra shots. Raheen had to flash in, and that came back and bit them. And Aaron, like you said, double kill to start the game. The Golden Egg, it's going to hatch a lot sooner if you can keep funneling all this gold in. And for Radiance, that's kind of going to hurt them as well in terms of bot side pressure. Now, Colthrow can try and gain control over this dragon as well, and Radiance, your mid lane's not strong enough to really contest Meslo till you get a couple of items. So, Grandview running the bot side.
Nice trading in top side here for Porsche. Gets a lot of damage down onto Prankuru, but again, you can't just sustain up. Much more important is what happened. I know my energy went like so high there for the first kill, but that initial play from Light Pulse was absolutely insane, right? He gets the play, he predicts the flash from Pluto, and it looks like they're going to clean that up because Raheen flashes for first blood. But yeah, the fact that it turns all around, that Colthrow is there reading the play, it just goes so much better for Grandview. And onto Aaron is the worst possible place if you are a Radiance player.
Yeah, hey, but there's still Porsche. There's still Crimson, right? Crimson's done an amazing job in the mid lane. We're saying keep an eye on the top lane CS. Well, mid lane, Crimson managed to get about a 2-wave advantage before he went back to base and is walking back in. So that's still going to convert to about a 1-wave advantage here. And if your solo lanes do pop off, we said before, Radiance is not a 1-carry team here. They've got plenty of carry threats. Rise late game as well can pop out as much damage. Light Pulse lands another one.
Oh, he's going in, but they don't
Underturn
know it's
again.
going to be a 3v3. There's so much damage already coming down, and the kill goes down onto Aaron. Now having to run away is Bluster. This looks really scary. He has to flash away. Dashing in is Colthrow. A couple more autos would do it. Raheen's been going very low.
Oh.
They're going to land the Q. They're going to get the proc. In goes Colthrow. It's beautiful from GVU. 3 more kills to the bot side.
And this, DJ, right here is why we wanted to cast this game, because we knew it was going to be a banger. We knew it was going to be close. And right now, Grandview are starting to run away with this here. This bot lane is bleeding for Radiance. Boomer, Raheen, unfortunately, it's not even Raheen's fault. Light Pulse is the one taking extra turret shots, and Aaron's the one benefiting 3-0-2. We said dragon control, but this is beyond dragon control. These are free dragons for Grandview now.
Yeah, it is absolutely free. And look at Aaron, 3-0-2. I mean, again, Light Pulse has been accurate with the hooks, right? But the death sentences they've been for him. He thinks he has his jungler in his pocket, so he's thinking, okay, I'm taking this in. We're totally fine. But Colthrow is there for the 3v3, and with that extra turret shot, as you mentioned, each and every death sentence has been only for Radiance. It is Grandview already out to a nearly 2k gold lead, and all of that gold is on the people you want it. It is on Aaron. It is on Colthrow.
Yeah, and if you're Radiance right now, you kind of just need to leave your bot lane alone for a little bit. Raheen and Light Pulse were actually fine in the 2v2 before they started making aggressive moves. So for Bluster, go back, farm up your jungle, go gank the other lanes. In fact, we see Bluster invading here, actually sneaks away the blue buff from Colthrow, who's been having such a good time of it so far.
Yeah, will be spotted out by that vision plant as well. He'll get his Gromp. That's just fine. You can see the priority Porsche has, but nothing doing just yet, as we do get a little bit of peace in this game. RMC right after all these plays in that pivotal bottom lane that we were highlighting, all going in favor of Grandview. First Drake is down. Next one coming up in 4 minutes or so. But really what will be on everyone's mind at this 8-minute mark, of course, should be the Rift Herald that is about to spawn.
Yeah, DJ, when you said we have peace for a moment, I was thinking it's probably going to be a short-lived moment here, because we've seen teams in PGCQ, the priority, the focus they put on this Herald here, and it's because it just gives you so many options as well. The earlier you take it, the better, and Porsche is just manhandling Prankuru right now, so all that bot side weakness is being offset right now, and because it's the top side of the map, unless Grandview is rotating Aaron up here, Radiance should be able to secure this.
Yep, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Never really made the move to do so. Looks like Grandview pretty happy to just give this one up, maybe knowing the matchup not great and not going super well. They will let that pressure bleed into the Rift Herald, and Radiance, they do get themselves a nice little prize here after a rough first 5 minutes or so.
Yep, and now when the enemy team has Herald, of course, the question is, what do you do about it? How can you make sure that you don't suffer from it? And one of the things you can do is try and gain control of your lanes and try and punish. And depending on how Grandview play this, if Aaron and Pluto continue their stranglehold on the bot side, it's going to force Radiance to either drop Herald in that lane to try and equalize, which is rough and not ideal, or when they drop it in the other lanes, most likely, top lane, Aaron can try and answer back with a turret for turret trade as well. So Grandview here, they're okay to trade Herald because their bot lane is in such a good position. They're not in a rush, to risk a 50-50 or even worse, a 70-30 on that top side when Porsche, when Crimson are so strong.
Speaking of that bottom side, you can see where the junglers are headed. RMC, here comes Bluster again. He's got the Rift Herald, and Coldthrow is here to cover as this wave does push into GVU. See if he does show himself. Are they going to try and dive this with the Rift Herald?
Oh, that would be a bad idea. Aaron has a completed Mythic right now. Raheen's not even close and trying to match
Yeah, he's just got to be covering, right? Okay, yeah, he's just going to cover this one. Bluster will just walk away. Meanwhile, Meslo, he's going all in. That's the ultimate. Already popped the R1. But Crimson, nicely done. Lands all of his spells. Hits the phase rush and just dashes away. No more engage for Meslo, and they'll just reset.
Oh, the chain, though?
Oh, nice spacing. Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, he's going in. Okay. Nicely done. Good flash away from Light Pulse is just enough to keep him alive. I was going to say, I was really wondering if they had the damage in that rocket with the Mythic already. RMC, it did quite a bit. If that's what Aaron's doing right now, I mean, just give it a couple of minutes when he has 2 items, and oh, boy, I would be very afraid.
Yeah, and you can see my apprehension, DJ.
Oh, boy, look at that gold already.
Push up. Yeah, by far the richest on the map. And again, it shows in the fact that Aaron's got a Mythic before anybody else does, right? And that is a massive problem. Crimson was looking to maybe go down, Realm Warp into the bot lane. But until Raheen picks up his Mythic here, a 3v2 might not actually be enough to be equal. You kind of need like a 4v2. And if Coldthrow is in the area, a 4v3, I don't know if I'd give it good odds to Radiance to be able to win that. I think it might end up getting traded even for now. So just take a step back, keep farming. If you look at the farm, Raheen, the gap between Raheen and Aaron has not grown whatsoever while Raheen's been on the back foot. So wait for your power spikes, play to that instead. Now Light Pulse has been unable to roam, leaving that bot side there. Raheen's doing fine, but I don't know if you can find his Akali. I think you've got a better odds of trying to dive that Gragas, who's semi-low on mana here.
Yeah, he is going back to base. Prankuru does have TP available. Big thing that is coming up, of course, is the second Drake of the game. Just 2 more seconds on that one, spawning in what looks to be a free one for Grandview, as Radiance has sent almost their entire map, almost their entire squad, excuse me, up to this top side. They are looking to punish Prankuru on this reset, and with the Rift Herald, they're likely going to get quite a bit of gold, if not a full turret, into their back pockets, RMC.
Yeah, and they have to do this, because if we look at the bot side of the map right now, Aaron and Pluto are matching that push really hard. Raheen's actually zoned off the turret, and you can see how low the turret is. Barely.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, wow. Did the last auto even proc, or was it just the Gale Force? It doesn't matter. Aaron is absolutely slamming it, and finally, we see that advantage pay dividends, RMC. We see how far ahead he is. Meanwhile, Meslo going back in for this one as the spell's been used. Everfrost comes out. It does slow him down. Still as the R2 is going to flash. He's going to get him with the last proc of the Q. Beautiful solo kill from Meslo.
I was getting a little bit worried that Meslo hadn't been able to dominate the lane just yet with the Akali, and that the timer was running, a little bit tight here. The Everfrost already completed once Fimbulwinter's in. I don't think Meslo has much kill threat, but able to convert right there. And DJ, in the bigger scheme of things, look at what that means for Grandview. Your bot side is crushing it right now. Aaron absolutely popping off. Your mid lane doing pretty well, and Prankuru isn't super far behind. Before that sort of big top lane push with the Herald there, Prankuru was within about 10-15 CS of Porsche here. So Grandview, they're set up to start looking for the team fights if they want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, remember what we talked about, right? Just leading up to the game, right? The fact that Prankuru could carry or play weak side to enable. He has done all right. He's 20 CS down, right? In the smart map trades from Radiance, he's lost his turret, but he's doing just fine, mostly on this Gragat. He's doing his role. And the point that we highlighted, right? The bottom lane, the power of this bottom lane, how they would lane. They're doing so incredibly well. The pathing from Coulter, the decision making, the fighting in the lane has turned into 2 dragons, has turned into a massive lead. Everything going to plan largely for Grandview.
Yeah, and we had said that, if Aaron can position well in a lot of these fights, that's a win for Grandview. And I meant that defensively, but it applies offensively. And Aaron's position offensively has been amazing too. The Gale Force have threatened kill after kill. Now, this is a 3v2 situation, potentially a 4v2 if Porsche comes out. And I said it before, I think you need a 4v2 for Radiance if you're going to try and take Aaron down right now.
You can see Crimson kind of hovering on the far side of the mini-map there. Of course, has the Realm Warp that we highlighted, can kind of get into or out of fights, but nothing really going to spark here in the mid lane. There really isn't anything on the map just yet to truly fight over. Would mostly just be kills, and gold is still a decent amount of health on the remaining turrets for Radiance in the mid and top side, and of course for Grandview in the mid and bot side where those map trades have been. So next thing we're waiting for really is Rift Herald has just spawned. 2 minutes 30 on the next Drake to see where these teams want to expend their resources, RMC.
Well, I mean, I believe Herald is up already right now. If Grandview want to take it here, there's really no reason not to, because Herald gives you the ability to sort of force an objective even when there's none. They don't have kill threat on this.
It did have 2 members hovering around, RMC, but as you mentioned, no kill threat just yet onto Aaron. He will be able to just hang here. Pluto now back. They'll clear the wave away. I don't think they finished taking the Rift Herald, though, so they did drop that. They did drop that aggro. It is still going to be available on the map, and maybe just recognizing that the most important thing right now to Grandview, of course, is the 3rd Drake in a minute 45. That's sole point, and that is a huge spike in terms of map control and overall power for them.
Yeah, especially the Hextech Dragon here, DJ. The soul for Hextech gives you sort of a static Shiv equivalent, but with a bit of a slow component to it as well, which is terrifying when you're up against a Jinx with the range to easily apply that slow and the ability to follow up, chase you down as well. So Radiance don't want to give it up, but I am a little bit worried about, what sort of play can they look to find here? The gold deficit isn't that bad. It's only 1.7 thousand, but they need to wait for their power spikes. The mythics are completed, but they're about half an item behind in pretty much every position. And one of their big strengths, the Realm Warp for Radiance, is partially matched and nullified by the Hextech gates as well, because suddenly Grandview can also get around the map very quickly, and Grandview can also look to maybe send Prankuru, send Coulter behind their team during one of these objective takes.
Yeah, but now during the base timer for Raheen, Grandview has found their window to move back over safely to the Rift Herald. They will take it down. Of course, they're on vision, but something Radiance was okay giving up. Again, everybody getting ready for this Drake in 30 seconds. One thing we do have to mention, right, is in terms of those Mythics RMCs, we don't have one just yet for Prankuru, right? I'm not sure how big of a deal that will be. He is the only front line they have, though, so might be pretty significant as this fight does come up. Okay,
he just went back to back.
Yep. Yeah, okay, yeah, there we go. Good work, Prankuru. You're on it. Timers are impeccable, and I mean, give credit to the timers, right? That's good comms, that's good team play, and it's good recognition of this critical objective that is coming up.
Yeah, and the fact that Pankuru actually used the teleport to get back in the lane so that they can get this Herald push going as well, rather than taking the Hex Gate. You can see the priority, the focus that they are trying to achieve here. Now, Herald did crash, Dragon is live, and Radiance, they don't have a ton of vision. They're trying to contest for it right now, but they know that Grandview haven't started it just yet.
Yep, they're on the vision here that's already been set with the Scuttlebug, and now it will be aggroed. We are looking at our first big 5v5 of PGC Q2 here, RMC. You can already feel the tension building up as Pankuru tries to frontline with this Gragas, now with the Chem Tank, of course. And remember, Hex Tech does a lot of damage if you are aggroing it. This is old Mountain Drake, like where you're just like, please stop, like please, you're really hurting me. Like this shouldn't be how much damage a dragon does. And still chunking them away. Half HP for Cold Throw. This
2K?
is risky, and now here we go. 2K kicking away the jungler. Cold Throw, he'll smite. It's actually secured by Aaron, and the fight breaks out. Cold Throw is forced out, but keep your eyes on Aaron. Aaron's already got a reset. Aaron's looking to get more. Can he find his way? That's the second one. He's going to land the zap. That should be a third. Goodbye, Bluster. And the fight is, oh my god, he's still alive, RMC. That is incredible. I literally put him in the grave, and somehow Light Pulse pulls him out of it, but the fight is still won by GVU as they get 2 kills and the third Drake.
The Lantern from Light Pulse here doing a ton of work, but you're seeing here, DJ, that Radiance, they're not super confident in their team fighting just yet. They're willing to take it slow. It got really, really dicey, and the fact that Aaron secured it as well, that was a beautiful team call coming through. Coulter saying, you know what, I'm going to kick him out. Everybody just blitz it down ASAP here. We'll smite, we'll do whatever it takes. And now Grandview, in 5 minutes time, that's a huge win condition for them, this Hex Tech Soul that we were talking about. And for Radiance, the question is, how do they get back into this? The team fighting front to back does not favor them. They are too far behind this Jinx right now. They need to start looking for flanks. And we said Crimson, his win con is to use that Realm Warp properly. We unfortunately have yet to see it being used at all.
Yeah, so far the game's just been too controlled from GVU. We haven't seen a window for Crimson yet to get that kind of pick, but keep your eyes now on the clock, right? This is why we've highlighted, because this is the kind of moment, right, in this mid game with turrets down, with this Drake spawning, where that ability becomes so powerful, where he and Bluster can try to tag team to look for a critical pick. If they can't 5v5, this is the moment to try to find that big member on GVU and get yourself back into the running of this game.
Yeah, and if you can find Aaron here, that's going to be absolutely massive, because there's a big bounty on this Jinx, and Jinx is still very squishy, is still vulnerable. Aaron's flash is down from that last set of events as well, so this is about as vulnerable as he's ever going to get.
The 3v3 dance here in the mid lane. Dark Passage will just take Raheen back out onto safety. Nice little tram ride, of course. You ever been? Reminds me of my Disneyland days, right? RMC back, yeah, gives me nice and all the way from like the Mermaid Pond all the way back to the front of the park, and Raheen enjoying the ride, but of course not maybe enjoying the state of the game at the moment. We're 10-2 here. We have 3K lead for Grandview, which again not insurmountable, but talked about the scale. Oh, hold on, he's just going in, and there's the nerfs. It's been a long time those nerfs have been here, RMC, but you remember when that had a little bit of extra range, and that might have landed a year ago. Sadly, not quite going to set up the pick that Raheen was looking for.
And that right there, DJ, is a little bit of the desperation that Radiance is feeling, right? We're saying, what can you do to try and make something happen? And that's Raheen's little contribution there. If you did land the Gravitum, that could very well have been an opportunity, but it doesn't land. And you know what? I'm okay with that. For Radiance, you try everything you can right now. The gold lead isn't that big. Again, I said it earlier, it's like 1.7k. Right now, it's only about 2 point something k. But the problem is that all the gold difference is on the big carry, which is Aaron.
Okay, Meslo doesn't have any heal cut, but he does have Gold Throw in his back pocket. So let's see how this goes for Porsche. Hasn't popped the ulti just yet. Going to land the Q1. Not going to land the Q2. Now he's going to get kicked, and I think he's just going to get executed. Yep, goodbye. I mean, didn't even try to proc his ultimate. I don't know if he missed the window when he got kicked or just knew he was dead, RMC, but either way, instead of Radiance finding the pick, it is actually Grandview who used some tempo to find their own.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think Porsche even used the Gore Drinker, and at that point, just use it. The cooldown is shorter than your death timer here, and Grandview.
Oh, wow. Coulter's going deep. He's going to kite out as the Dark Passage procs, but there is the ultimate. Crescent Guard's not going to keep Bluster alive. Good hook, though, onto Coulter. They could get the shutdown, but he gets a shield. Pluto always there with the shields at the optimal time, keeps his jungler alive. He can now reset in plenty of time for the Drake spawning in 50 seconds.
And you've just got to ask what Radiance were doing so pushed out here. You knew you were a man down. And Meslo is a man on a mission on this map right now. Was able to get to the fight as well in time. So Radiance were at a numbers disadvantage. You can't be pushing out like that here, especially when you're getting run down. Pankuru is just happily going to tank that at this point. Pankuru is not even that tanky, and they're already starting to struggle a little bit, trying to cut through him, trying to, get to that back line of Aaron.
We got to look at the setup for this Drake. 17 seconds, you can see initial river controlled Radiance, very chase. Now Coldthrow's going in, he's going to kick in. There's the ultimate used by Porsche. Can he stay alive? Core Drinker prop. That is a great barrel from Breaker, splits up the fight. But now Rakeen has the red white guns, he's looking to fight. Aaron's going to get a reset though, and it's all too much for Rakeen to carry the game. Instead, it's Aaron who wins it once again, gets his reset, and will get his team the soul.
And just like clockwork here, DJ, Grandview knew it's the perfect timers to go in on that. They get the ace, or they get the kills, probably wasn't an ace, and Dragon Soul spawns, and now it's going to be so easy for them to run down. So far, Aaron has had to wait for other people to initiate, and Kolthro, Meslo, Prankuru, they've all done amazing jobs with that, but now Aaron can also initiate. Baron on the table, they're going for this. Bluster's still dead. No smite available for Radiance.
Doing a lot of damage to Prankuru, but they kind of did his job for him a little bit there. He wanted to get rid of the Blast Cone RMC, and he takes some damage for it, but now it is gone. Your eyes, though, on Porsche. Bluster's up, he's running here, and Grandview, they're just going to back away. They do not want to risk this despite the window. They know they're in control with this Hextech Soul, so they will give up the tempo, they will give up their mid lane turret just to reset and be out on the map. Oh, they won't... No, they won't even lose it.
Get it. Yeah, there's objective bounty gold on that right now. So Radiance is trying to go in, but that's the Hextech Soul I'm talking about right there. Light Pulse, just getting tagged by that, it's already so dangerous. And Grandview probably could have done the Baron, probably could have turned to fight if they wanted, but I respect that they're playing this really carefully. There's no need to risk anything. They're 15-3 at this point. They don't have to go for a quick Baron. They can set up, and if anything, if Radiance goes into all 5 of them after they've gone back, they've bought, they're ready to fight again, you get an ace, you get a Baron, and that's game.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to Radiance once again for keeping up. I mean, they're only 4K down after multiple lost team fights. It really feels like they should be deeper in the hole gold-wise, but you cannot discount how much power is in Grandview's pockets. It's more than 4K at this point with Hextech Soul, and you can see how fearless they are this time. With 5, they are just starting up the Baron. You know these members are around, already down to 50% HP. What can Radiance do? Can Rakeen get a huge steal? Can Bluster? Are they even going to get a chance? Going in is Prankuru. Meslo's in the backline, and Meslo has assassinated the big brother on Radiance. Down goes Rakeen. No chance left for Radiance to disrupt this Grandview Baron. They are handling this objective incredibly cleanly, RMC, and we talked about momentum. This team is absolutely firing on all cylinders in this first game.
Yeah, right from the beginning, when the small mistake from Light Pulse gave over 2 kills to Aaron, Grandview University has not let off the gas. They're constantly pushing. Even when they let off the gas, it's just for a quick pit stop here. And okay, there we go. We get to see a Realm Warp finally on screen. But it's an escape Realm Warp from Radiance there. And I think at this point, you hold your tools, right? Like, maybe you can try and find something with it, but that ult will be down for a while yet. Grandview with Soul, with Elder. Let's see if they can crack the base.
Yeah, first Baron of the game. They still have a good bit of work to do in terms of turret count, RMC, right? Only 2 have been taken. They still have that outer line in the top lane. That's just standing gold at this point, but it will be a little tricky to fully crack the base open. So we will likely see another one in this game unless something goes really wrong in a team fight for Radiance. But you can see them once again looking like they're going to try to play this out effectively. They've got a 1-3-1 going. They're going to go take that standing gold in the top lane and then try to set down their vision line so they can push that siege in even further.
DJ, when we looked at the draft, we're saying that, okay, the Aatrox is probably going to get a hit. You know, the Rise isn't going to be easily handleable by the Akali. That hasn't been the case. Meslo has been able to draw people away. And then in the 4v4 here, if Crimson's not there, they're kind of lacking that tanky damage. If Crimson is there, Porsche can't handle Meslo whatsoever here. In fact, I don't know if Meslo just pushed Crimson off or Crimson just had to rotate down to threaten help for his team. But again, no Realm Warp, right? Used it to get out earlier. There's not even a proper threat to look to collapse on Grandview here.
And they have split a little bit here. We saw that gold graph earlier, kind of backing up RMC's point that it has been start to finish thus far for Grandview. 0 to about 6K. I'm still going to land on a cold throw, but there isn't any follow-up. I bet if we check that gold graph after this Baron power play, RMC, it'll look even bigger there with a 3,500 power play. The minute still remaining in Meslo. Even as he's been separated, you see that Crimson has backed off. He actually took the ulti and survived, but look how much damage is coming out from Aaron, right? Just zoning them with the rockets, and now Prankuru, another barrel. The cask not going to knock anyone in. Bluster tries to dash in. He gets knocked away, and here comes the fight. Hook not going to land. It's very split up as Coulter goes deep. He goes a little bit too deep. It doesn't even matter as Aaron gets the reset. Aaron's looking for a second. He can't quite connect, but everyone's so low. Rocket's going to pick up the second onto his counterpart. It's Aaron once again for Grandview taking down Rakeen, and this could just be the game as they smash the Nexus turrets and they smash Radiance in the first game of the Circuit 2 qualifier.
Yep, and there we go. That'd be the last parting shot there. The gold overtime graph, DJ. You're saying it's going to be big. It was so big, they just flat out ended the game. And you know what? I remember at one point in that last team fight, it just said Aaron is legendary, and I was like, yep, that's a tagline for this match. Clip it, move on.
Clip it, move on, right? And this is what we highlighted, right? GVU loves to play this style. They have that golden egg in Aaron. And what a start to have your egg deliver so quickly. Whatever the meme is that they have going on in their next interview, Louisiana purchase golden egg. Aaron, with the help of Cold Throw and Pluto, they laned effectively. They picked their plays effectively. They dominated the bot side Dragon count 4 in a row and took it to a victory. You could not have had a cleaner start to this tournament for Grandview.
Yeah, and I hope Grandview is also another sort of momentum-based team, because this is a lot of momentum to be bringing into Game 2 tonight. And speaking of that momentum-based team, Radiance here, I'm not too worried about them. They've lost games before. It's not that big a deal for them, and they know they're good. That said, this particular game, definitely not indicative by any stretch of the imagination of what this team can do. The bot lane, they messed up. I think we can acknowledge that. Lightpulse and Raheen gave over a little too many kills in the laning phase. Crimson and TC Porsche actually did pretty decently in their lanes, did well. They were up CS, they were up pressure, and we just never got to see Radiance get a chance to do anything. And that hurts, because for a while there towards the end of the early game, beginning of the mid game, I thought there were opportunities, where Crimson could try and work with Bluster, work with Porsche to get Realm Warps in the back. Didn't unfortunately get to see that happen. And as the game continued going on, it just felt like they could not reach Aaron. All the lane strength that we saw Crimson and TC Porsche accumulate just couldn't be brought to bear.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate of a start for Radiance, but fortunately it is an OQ, right? They still got 4 matches with which to qualify. They'll bump down to 0-1. They'll match up with another 0-1 team. And on the other end of things, GVU can try to continue that momentum in Game 2. But before we throw it here to a break between Games 1 and 2, do want to thank our sponsors at Unified for bringing you these incredible productions. So do want to thank, of course, our main sponsor here in Skulls. Looking to upgrade your gamer gear? Look no further. Start your 2022 off right with official Unified Esports merchandise brought to you by Skulls. Hoodies, joggers, jerseys, armbands, and a lot more coming soon. You have the skill, now get the swag. Skulls.com/collection/unified has everything you need. Gear up, game on. Skulls.